welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I wanted to talk about the wild behavior, that's what we're going to call it, wild behavior that was happening when I was drinking and what I've learned from that, like what's going on right now in my head about that. In the program, I learned to not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. And lately, I've been thinking about a few things that I did when I was drinking that make me feel guilt and shame. And it makes me feel so guilty and shameful that I actually start almost having a panic attack when I think about it. If I actually sit down and think about it, it I can put myself there and I start questioning me as a person because it was just really bad stuff. And honestly, when I come across people in my life today that have done something that they aren't proud of, or that even might make me feel angry at them because maybe I it hurt me. Um, I have to think about what I've done in my past that may have hurt somebody else. Like, that is why it's so easy for me to forgive others because of my experience with doing things that I am shameful and regretful of. So, like, for example, um, without getting too personal, because I am on the internet, by the way, um, I had that what I thought back then in college was typical behavior. Okay. I was drinking every day. Like I was always looking for that long-term boyfriend that, by the way, I never got. Um, and I can see some of my behavior was setting me up for not having what I wanted. So what I remember doing is I remember going to parties and I remember like I don't know, starting to hang out with a guy at one of the parties. And like I'll think of one guy in particular. I remember talking to him and thinking while I was talking to him, I hope he likes me. There's no way that this is going to be a long-term thing because I felt like I wasn't worthy or I wasn't good enough. And it will not be something long term because they won't like me that long. It was always like I was setting myself up for for not being able to have a long-term relationship. So this one that I'm thinking of in particular, and this is just not somebody, honestly, if I'm being honest, and that's what I do here, I don't remember his name. Okay. Then I remember the next weekend going to the same party and seeing that guy. That guy saw me. And what if that guy actually did really like me? I had already dismissed him, assuming that he didn't like me, you know? And this is what I do. I see it in my life today. And that's why I'm sharing it, because my assumption seems to always be that I am not good enough, or that somebody does not think as highly of me as I think of them. And that if I befriend somebody, and I'm talking male or female, they are not going to continue to be a part of my life long term. I can have the best time ever and share, laughter and conversation and all of this, but my assumption is that it's over. I wonder if this is tied into my fear of abandonment issues. I don't know. I don't want to assume, so I'm no psychiatrist, right? If I was, I wouldn't be doing a podcast. But or maybe I would. I'd be doing a professional psychological podcast. But I don't want to assume what is tied up in those thoughts. That's something that I would talk to my psychiatrist about. But I can see over the past week, I've been thinking about these interactions with people I had in college and after college that was always setting myself up for being lonely. Um, and it wasn't because of them, it was because of me. I didn't see it. Like my behavior when I was drinking was so unpredictable and so not me that it's hard to stomach thinking about it, because it's really, like I said, it's shameful. Um, I know that it was me because I have the memory of it, but I can't fathom not drinking and behaving in the same way. Um, it's like I wish I could erase the memories of it, or that I could convince myself that that wasn't me. But it was me, and I'm going to have to live with that for the rest of my life, that that was me. Um, and I don't really know what to do with it. I am told I need to not regret it. So I try not to regret it, and I try to see the lessons in it, which I see very clearly the lessons in it, which is what I'm talking about today. It is that building up the confidence and the ability to think more highly of myself, that I'm not like that. I'm not that person that I acted like back then. Um, but it's just it's difficult. It's difficult. And I suppose that even 8 years into sobriety, it still takes work to look back and not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it, and continue to learn lessons from it. There may be things that have happened in my past, and I'm quite certain that this is the case, that there are things that have happened in my past that I feel that guilt and shame about, and I have a hard time not wanting to shut the door on it, that in the future, the lesson will come out. Because sometimes have, I'll have lessons that I learned that I didn't really see until I talked to my kids about it. Or it may be that I have a friend in the future or somebody in the program that's going to share with me a similar experience, and I'm going to be able to encourage that person and say, "Look, me too. That happened to me." when I was younger, when I was in college, after college even, I participated in behavior that is really not honest behavior, and it's I'm ashamed of it. But the fact that I can even simply say, yeah, that happened to me too, or I felt that way too, or I did that too, puts that experience to work for me, for somebody else that I'm sharing it with. So, I think that I wanted to talk about it, and hopefully I talked about it in a way that's okay. Um, I wanted to talk about it because I wanted to be able to talk through what those experiences are going to do for me and for another person. And I think that I got there with this episode. Um, One of the things that I shared this morning was that I go to my morning meeting hoping to ignite that little candle of hope every morning. Because I can wake up and be thinking negative things. I can wake up and be thinking about shameful, guilty stuff from my life. That stuff usually comes at night when I'm going to sleep. I'll start thinking about my past and being feeling regretful and shameful and guilty about past actions. And then I wake up and I'm kind of feeling like, you know, poopy a little bit. Well, I usually don't feel good when I wake up. So it's pretty easy for me to sink into a mental state that doesn't feel good because physically I don't feel good. So when I get to go to my morning meetings, I get to ignite that little candle of hope. And it stays lit throughout the day. And I think it's, you know, how when you have a candle, and I don't know why it happens, but maybe there's too much melted wax in the bottom of the candle where the wick is, that the candle is still lit, but barely because it's got too much melted wax in the bottom of it. That's kind of like what my candle of hope does throughout the day. It starts to get really, really small, and I need to pour out some of the wax, but it can get kind of messy. And what happens is I get to go the next day to a meeting and light the candle again. And that's what I was envisioning this morning when I was listening to my meeting. I get to take that stuff every day that makes me feel guilty and shameful. And if there's stuff that comes to mind that I hadn't shared with my sponsor yet, then bingo, that's what I need to do. I need to talk to my sponsor about it, which um, I recognized yesterday that some of this stuff that I'm thinking about, I haven't talked to any sponsor about. And so that would be step one for me, is to plan a time to meet with my sponsor and talk about this stuff. So, but as I go to meetings and I hear other people's experiences, that guilt and shame, if I can figure out a way to use it for good, turns to gratitude. Like I get to share my experience, have somebody say to me, "Oh yeah, me too. That happened to me too. I felt that way too." And then it turns into gratitude that I'm able to see the lessons in it. So the last thing that I shared this morning, that several people, it was really sweet, said, that they loved hearing this morning that I talked about how I had one of these episodes for the podcast, and had this epiphany. And for you lifetime listeners, you know the episode maybe where I just kind of recognized how much I love myself. And I was like, I love me. And so I was talking about that in my morning meeting, and they liked that because that's what somebody reminded me is in the program they tell you as a newcomer that we will love you until you love yourself. Well, that's what happened. And you know, after I feel like that episode was, I feel like it was 2 years ago, but it might have been last year. Anyway, so like after 7 years, I'm like shouting from the rooftops or from the internet, I love myself. So it happened for me because I didn't love myself when I came into the my sobriety. When I started in sobriety, I didn't love myself. I was really scared of myself. I was scared of myself. I was scared of my own mind because it was making me feel so terrible. I had so much anxiety and depression, and I wasn't giving my body the nutrients that it needed, like food wise. I wasn't exercising. I just was not treating this body the way that it deserves to be treated. And um, I should mention to you all, I added another section to my nightly prayer. So, um, I thank God for my sobriety, for not smoking, for the willingness to recover that started after I left my job and had to go into full-time recovery for my stroke. And I have recently added, I thank God for my body. And that has felt really, really good to add to my prayer, to be grateful for my body, because after my stroke, I felt like I was trapped in a broken body. And at times I can go back there again. Mentally, I can think, I'm trapped inside this broken body and it's never gonna be fixed. Um, but when I thank God for my body, um, I I resurrect all of those tests and negative results post stroke, where they were trying to figure out why I had a stroke. I resurrect that gratitude of, oh, thank God I don't have a hole in my heart. Thank God I don't have a blood disorder. Thank God I didn't lose my ability to speak. All of these things. So, I feel it very important to thank God for the body that I do have, because although my brain is broken, there's a lot of me, most of me is not broken, and I still have the ability to do a lot, and I still have the ability to use my voice to speak up for the little girl in me that was too afraid to talk for most of my life about what was going on between my ears. And I can speak up for many who are too afraid to speak because they're suffering from the same invisible illnesses. So I'm grateful to be here. And also, the end of my prayer at night is always thy will be done, not mine. And when I can accept that I don't have control, that I trust in the direction that my life is going, and that I have the tools to handle whatever is in front of me, then I can peacefully go to sleep for the night. knowing that I get to wake up in the morning and light my candle of hope again in my morning meeting. So thanks for listening today, and happy Monday to all of you. I will talk to you tomorrow.